Hello everybody, I'm Samya Murthy. I'm making a video on dryland farming. This would be helpful to all the students who would be learning agricultural economics. So when we see talk about or discuss about dryland farming, what exactly is dryland farming? Because basically we're discussing about agriculture, and agriculture is trying to grow crops in your normal soils. So here we are discussing about the soil pattern, which is basically a very dry soil, or where the water availability is very less. So, dry farming or dryland farming refers to an improved system of cultivation whereby maximum amount is conserved by the soil. So, maximum amount of water is absorbed and conserved by the soil. So it involves a system of checking the soil and the crop management in these regions of lowland and where there is uneven distribution of rainfall. So we are not talking about those land which have normal rainfall, so they have sufficient water to grow the crop. So here they have abnormal patterns of rain, or there is deficiency of rainfall or shortage of rainfall. So these crops find it difficult to sustain and grow. So that time we are looking into that pattern where you can have a soil which will conserve and take more water. So dryland farming gives agricultural techniques to the non-irrigated cultivation of crops. So you don't even have agriculture. I mean, you want to have agriculture but don't have an irrigation. You're trying to provide a technique. And we need to introduce the agricultural operation in the arid and the semi-arid land. So basically these dry lands are found in the regions of arid and semi-arid lands. So in order to start off with dairy or dry land farming, we see that it requires alternative farming seasons of cropping and fallow. So which again needs careful flowing. So harrowing during both the cropping season and fallow season, again, all this planning has to be done so that you know how to get the water restored in the soil. So in order to catch the early showers, the first plowing and hollowing experiences or operations are done. The second plowing and harrowing operations are done during the rainy season in order to open the soil so that to the relatively heavier rain, and the plowing and the harrowing operations are done for the previous land which was kept open, and the land absorbs the moisture content. Then, so why do we need this dry land farming? So we all know India is a populous country. We have a population which is fast growing, so it becomes very imperative on the government to provide food for our people. So the gap between the requirements and the supply of agricultural output is increasing, and gradually this is leading to a crisis in terms of both food and non-food crops. So there's been a huge demand which the government is trying to fulfill. So we need to increase our agricultural production. So as a result, need to increase the agricultural area. So let's see what are the characteristics of dry land farming. We see that since it's a dry land, the soil is not very fertile, the productivity is also very less. We see that there is no consistency in terms of output, so it's very unstable, and they're totally dependent on the little rain that they get, and there is inadequate and uneven distribution of rainfall. And we also see that dry land cultivation is helping when we make use of horticultural crops, and it's very necessary to make use of natural resources that are available without making any wastage or without any wastage. So let's see how horticulture is done or is in dryland farming. So when we see dryland horticulture is taken up in these areas, there are small land holdings and the water part is very scarce. So we can grow variety of fruits in these areas because these plants can survive or they make use of very less water. We have seen that many fruits like mango, custard, amla, guava, jamun, etc., even to some extent pomegranates have been grown. So we find that horticulture, which is helping to grow fruits, are doing very well in terms of the dry land areas. So let's see then what are the characteristics of dry land farming in terms of horticultural produce. So we see that perennial fruit crops are grown in all seasons of fruit yields without wasting any rainwater. So whatever little rainfall they are getting, they're able to concentrate and grow fruits all the season without any wastage. And we see that they are not making any major investments or capital investment is not required. So the farmers still who are very poor or have a very small farm holding can also take up this horticulture in their dry farms, and it provides employment to farmers, to women and youth. So as we all know, unemployment is one major issue in terms of India, wherein we find it very difficult to provide employment to especially the youth and the women. So now this is providing employment. And we also see that the deep root plants or trees are suitable for this dry land farming. So mango, custard, jamun plants are all sown with the seeds, and when they grow into a big plant, they take very less water, or the roots go deep down. So that is beneficial to grow the or bear the fruits. Also, we see that we have guava, we have amla uh, being grown in this fruit bearing period. So we also see that tamarind, uh, guava, custard, etc. These plants or these trees are basically shedding leaves. So, they have their own way of storing water, making use of the limited waters that are available. So they're making use of this by shedding their leaves when they are bearing the fruits. And coming to the water conservation method, since water is scarce, how we conserve water here in these regions becomes a major issue. So we see that they form these ponds in their farms. So usually that is called as the farm ponds. So these farm ponds are constructed to collect the water when it rains and it can be used later. So usually when there are heavy rains, and just make a big pit and leave it, and it's going to fill the pond with water. And the rim of the bund is constructed will have more height than the land surface to collect the water. So they just want to ensure that the water doesn't run away or there is loss of water. So they try to make this rim around the bunds that they construct so that the water stays within. And they also construct the bunds, which is constructed to avoid the water flow and also to avoid soil erosion. So as we know that bunds are usually constructed so the water doesn't flow away. So when they do it, it is trying to avoid the flow of water, at the same time helping us not to lose the fertile soil by soil erosion. And coverage, basically what the plants do is that they shed their leaves. So we have dry leaves, we have dry grass. Now that can be covered on the soil so that we avoid this water to evaporate. And even the weeds growth is controlled, and soil erosion is also controlled by this method. So usually whatever leaves are shed are used to cover the soil, and that is, avoiding water evaporation. And we also see drip irrigation. As we all know, drip irrigation is wherein you supply water to the plant by connecting it through the pipes and the water pump. So it's reaching to the roots, wherein you provide water drop by drop. So here, one, we are conserving majorly on water. You save a lot of water. So helping the plant to get water supply at the same time, even the plant is growing. Until recently, we were neglecting the development of the technology for dryland farming. So, considering the potential that it has and the importance that it has, we all know that dryland farming is very, very important because we are growing many fruits. Horticulture is mainly, thriving with dryland farming. We find that the Indian Council of Agricultural Research, ICAR, has contributed a lot to dryland farming, and it has recently evolved dry farming technology for its applications in these areas, so which are experiencing inadequate rainfall even in the rainy season. So we have these lands which are basically not receiving enough rainfall. So for them also, I see ARS giving a very helping hand. So in order to improve dryland farming in the country, the government has also proposed a lot of programs and initiatives. So they have started to follow an integrated and multidisciplinary approach for the adoption and the development of dryland farming in the country. So you need to integrate this multidisciplinary approach. So we want to adopt and develop dryland farming. And we also see that when it comes to money or credit, we find that NABARD and cooperative banks have already expressed their willingness to extend the financial help for running those viable dryland farming projects in the country. So we, as we discussed, these dryland farming could be done in small plots of land, with these poor farmers who don't have huge acres of land. So they are all poor small farmers. So what they can do is they can ask financial help from NABARD and many cooperative banks, so they can take a loan or a credit from these banks, which are very much ready to help them. So make use of whatever little technology that is required for them to start dryland farming or horticulture in these dryland farming. So we know that whether it is specific mangoes or variety of mangoes or jamun or maybe custard or maybe certain crops like even amla are very much in demand, and they can make a lot of money by selling these products. So let's summarize as to what all we discussed in this video. Basically, the main aspect of this video was to discuss about dryland farming. So what exactly is dryland farming? So we know that these are the areas which are basically dry. That is, they don't receive sufficient water. They don't have enough water because there is scanty rainfall or there is no rainfall at all. And here the water management becomes very, very important, because the soil needs to retain the moisture and somehow make use of that for agricultural produce. And we also saw how we have very less production and how the fertility of the soil is not good. So how this could be used. And here we bring in dryland horticulture. So this dryland horticulture is helping farmers a lot, as it is beneficial to them, because they're making use of this to grow variety of fruits. Basically, they are into mango, custard, jamun, amla, and sometimes even growing tamarind and pomegranate. So some of these trees have roots which go deep down, so they are able to absorb the water from that and basically sustain for a long time. And we also have various methods where we try to cover up with the dry leaves too, so that the soil retains its moisture. So all this would help farmers a lot when they make use of the right techniques to adopt and produce lot of fruits in these dry land areas. And we also discussed how the government is coming forward to bring in the technology to help these farmers. We also discussed about how NABARD and cooperative banks are coming forward to help farmers to get credit. So this is the summary of our video. It would give me immense pleasure to put my viewpoints and discussed about dry land farming. Hope this will be beneficial to you too. Thank you.